Hi, we are live. Hello, everyone. Happy to be here to discuss Golden Fool by Robin Hobb. With me, I have Evie, Robin Hobb's, what do I say?
I'm
Second,
yeah.
second.
I am the sister nun to Derry's mother nun of Robin Hobb.
I'll let you.
It's a self-proclaimed title. So
And I have Pete. Pete, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Pete from the Ponderings of Pete, and I am continually reeling just from everything that Robin Hobb likes to throw at us.
Hey, Chrissy, it's good to have you here. Did you finish, entire series or are you in the middle of that? Please let us know. We also are expecting Derri and K Fox to join us. K Fox is experiencing some router problems. They'll join us soon. Hey, Emily.
I mean,
Ja.
if you wanted to, go rogue, if Emily wanted to join us, she could. She's already read Golden Fool. She's up through. I think she's read finished the series actually.
Yeah, sure, actually. Let me know if you want to join. I'll send you the link.
No pressure, Emily.
Okay, there is message. She'll join soon.
Nice.
Hey
So
Bridget. Hey Neeru.
So I will counter Pete's claim that of everything that Robin Hobb puts us through. She doesn't put us through anything. She just more or less like I don't know. I don't know. It's a willing torture that we go through with
I
Robin.
mean, she puts Fitz through everything, and by extension, she puts us through everything because we have to go along with Fitz and his um, torture slash also Fitz being Fitz.
Yeah.
Hi,
So
Derry.
Good morning, everybody.
Good
good
morning.
morning.
Are you feeling better?
I am. I have woken up this morning with no headache. This is exciting. So, I did, however, have the best cup of tea of the day first, which is always sad because now all of the rest of the cups of tea for today are not going to be as good. So,
At least you start off the day
yes,
the best possible way.
that's right. So,
Sounds like a lingo or a jingle. Wow, words.
yeah, I'm the one
Okay.
that just got out of bed, Pete. Come on. Okay, so obviously I've read it a lot. I've missed the beginning. So, where are we up to? Hi.
So,
Introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm Derry from Derry's read it before, and I've read Hob a million times, or very nearly, which is why I'm here. So, yeah.
okay. Before continuing, I just want to remind you whoever read the entire series or Beyond Golden Fool, please don't talk any spoilers, even in comments. And this will have spoilers until Fool's End, at least for first few minutes before jumping on to spoilers of Golden Fool. So, non-spoiler thoughts of Golden Fool.
So non-spoiler, so when I read it, I initially thought it was my least favorite of the Realm of the Elderlings books that I had read thus far, but the more time away from it, the more that I've appreciated it.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those books that, I mean, not to say that none of the other books are not doing the same thing, but especially with Golden Fool, the more I reflect on it, the more I really, really appreciate what Robin Hobb has done with specifically the character work. It is purely a character work book, in my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
and I absolutely adore it.
Okay. Pete?
I really liked it. I even though that says nothing because I really like all of them. I thought it was very similar to Royal Assassin in some very very overarching ways because I feel like it sets things up similar. It takes the lead from Fool's Errand um, in a similar way as well as kind of feeling like it sets up something similar, less traumatizing to a certain extent because than the ending of Royal Assassin, but still there was some interesting similarities I think between the two books. Um, I liked Fitz and just Fitz learning just everything that Fitz learned in this one was really nice, and then there was some characters in here that were introduced that I really loved.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree, Pete. It does have a lot of similar, almost structural sort of things in it to Royal Assassin. It's very much a court book. It's the interactions between characters book. It's the setting up that final portion of the
Mhm.
trilogy book, and it does, as Evie said, it increases the value further on you read because those interactions have built even more into the decision making and the motivations of the characters. So it's one of those essential books when it isn't necessarily plot driven, but it's very important to the plot. So yeah.
Okay. Uh, okay. I'm so scared that I'm worried that Derri and Evie will attack me now. Initially I rated it only 3.75 stars, but I know I was very tough on it because I love Robin Hobb. I loved Farsi trilogy, and so maybe I'm not being fair. Maybe I'm judging very harsh, but this is my least favorite in the realm of elderling so far because all the plot points I'm more interested in did not happen in this book. Everything is pushed to full fate. As much as I like, see, I am a character driven reader mostly. I mean, if plot is little bit better, I'm all right actually. It has good character work. I do enjoy whatever happened, but somehow there is some kind of that, as Channing said, something is missing. I'm am so restless. As like I want to know what is going to happen in that, you know, out
Yep.
islands and with ice fire. My heart is there. I was like, I need there. Okay, this is all good. I need there. You know.
As Bridget said, worse than Ship of Destiny, which is I was surprised when you're like, this is my least favorite. I'm like, you really you like it like even less than Ship of Destiny? But I think Emily is in the backstage area. So
Oh, sorry, I did not scroll down. Hi, Emily.
hi,
There
Emily.
we go.
Hello.
Okay, let me complete the thought.
Good morning.
It's not worse than Ship of Destiny. I did not include Ship of Destiny. That was really traumatic to me. But when I compare it to Farseer and other two, this was definitely my least favorite. Maybe I'll increase my rating to 4 or 4.25, but it's definitely not 5 star for me because in the middle part it was kind of little dragging, and that's what I felt. Emily, I just want to remind you that no spoilers beyond Golden Fool. Please, you're on mute.
We still can't hear you.
Oh, hey, George.
Marco, Polo. Cat talking.
Oh, there you go. George is playing. Oh, I just want to say hello to Chrissy's Purple Library in the chat. I went and watched her Fool's Errand
Full surrender
video
review. Yeah.
yesterday, and I'm officially in love with this person. And that was awesome. That was just so
I
fabulous.
just
I
saw
loved
that
that so much.
message when I went to post this link. I added it to watch it later. I will watch it.
Yeah,
All right, Emily's gonna
it's
try her
very
phone.
much worth our time.
Okay.
I detest Ship of Destiny, but Golden
Oh,
Fool.
that's interesting.
Interesting.
I
Mm.
think Paromita has the same problems with Ship of Destiny as me. Uh, Interesting that Golden Fool is. I mean, in entire realm of Elder
It
Links,
is
or
interesting.
Okay, K
in
Fox
front of you.
is here. Are you with us?
Yes, I am here.
Hey,
Yay!
Yay! I was trying to experiment with a new setup, and I shouldn't have done that on a live.
Felt that. I understand.
hello.
So we should let K Fox introduce herself now.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
We should.
Hi. I am K Fox. I don't really know what else to say. I talk a lot about fantasy and science fiction. I am not consistent at all at uploading videos on my channel, so if that bothers you, then don't follow me. That's about it.
Okay, okay, I'll do. I mean, I'm worse also, but I'll do better job than you. Everyone, K Fox is really cool. She is a big fan of Pratchett, and I almost finished Wheel of Time, and she adds excellent thoughts to Realm of Elderlings. So please subscribe to her. Maybe that will motivate her to do more videos. And K Fox, go ahead and talk. Give your non-spoiler thoughts.
All right. So I guess at the end of the day, I just really enjoyed this book. But it definitely was a bit of a middle book to me. I felt like there was a lot of buildup when it comes down to it. And I feel like there were a lot of threads that were not resolved in, I guess, not necessarily not in the way that I wouldn't like to, but as much as I would have liked them to be. So it definitely set things up so that I'm looking forward to the next book, but I feel like I'm just kind of like waiting right now, and I will probably start the next book very soon.
Marco, Polo, can you hear us, Emily?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yay! My iPad sucks apparently. Sorry about that.
Hey,
This is my first live ever.
gang's all here.
So, and I'm technologically challenged. So thank you for coming.
Aren't we all?
No worries at all.
I mean, you're doing great because you're learning, and
we're
that's the
very
best thing.
inclusive in booktube. It's fine.
So to take over Anitha's role, even though this is her channel,
Bridget never
Emily,
reads
introduce
for me.
yourself.
Oh, hey. So I'm Emily from Emily Reads. I finished Realm of the Elderlings at the beginning of this month. I read The Golden Fool back in January. So I'm going to not try to introduce too many new things simply because I hopefully will not. I'm afraid I might accidentally spoil, not meaning to, just because some things kind of have blurred together. So I will follow your all lead.
Okay.
Plus, Derri can just, hit like a buzzer, be like, no, don't say it.
Stop talking, Emily.
Okay, I think let's jump on to spoilers. We are ready. If you haven't read Golden Fool, please, thank you for joining, and please come back once you read it. Okay, let's jump on to spoiler thoughts. Before Evie, please forgive me for this. Before coming to you, I'm going to ask Pete and K Fox because they did not complete the entire series. I mean,
I'm offended, but okay.
Yes, still fresh. They're the most fresh readers of Golden Fool.
Mm-hmm.
Right, Pete, I think that's your turn.
Oh, okay. First of all, Web and Thick, top tier, amazing. Really loved them. I was concerned for a hot second there that because we had like the biggest high of the book when Fitz decided to almost die on us. I was afraid that Hobb was going to do something even bigger. Okay. So they introduced Web, and I loved Web within a chapter, and I was like, wait, you're not going to kill them all in an abrupt ending, are you, Hobb? Are you going to do that to us? Please don't. So that was fun. Fitz definitely had his moments of straight up stupidity in this book, because there's definitely a lot of moments where I was like, oh, I know what's going on here, and then Fitz just didn't see it at all, and that's an interesting balance to pull in a book where you have things that the readers can spot, but the main characters can't spot. And I felt like there were some conclusions he could have come to, like, oh, Henja's being skilled through. Like, he still hasn't come to that conclusion. And I'm like, hey, it's kind of obvious that the false prophet has the power of the skill. Come on, man. Like, you know this. You should be able to figure this out. But yeah, stuff like that was a little frustrating. And then the coterie was, I don't know, just that coming together with Thick and Dutiful was awesome.
Okay, there is so much hatred about Fizz and Fool in the chat. We will slowly get to each character after overall spoilery thoughts. Okay, Fox, go ahead.
I guess overall, I also had a lot of frustration a bit towards Fitz, but also towards the Fool and their whole relationship. We'll get into that more later, I'm sure. I was really frustrated with everything and kind of disappointed in the characters, not like Hobb for her writing, but like the characters themselves. As far as character arcs and stuff like that go, I think that by the end, the character I was happiest with is Hap. Like his entire arc, it just made me so happy because I was so like scared and disappointed for him. And then by the end, I just felt so happy and I don't know, warm and fuzzy. I think that honestly, his arc is probably the one that stood out the most to me. I found Thick very interesting too, and just the idea of the coterie, everything with Chade. Yes, I think that's the biggest stuff.
Okay, Evie, go ahead.
So I understand the frustration with Fitz and the Fool, especially the conversations around the Fool's identity and Fitz's feelings of betrayal by finding out about Amber. But I actually like I'm not gonna name names, but someone was really mad at Fitz because of the way that he acted in that scene, and also with Thick. And like, I understand that Fitz is he's much like everyone. He is a product of his environment, and when there's just a very patriarchal society, and sorry, something was beeping outside. I don't know. What I'm trying to say is the scenes that people tend to not like, specifically Fitz and the Fool talking about the Fool's presentation as Amber, and then Fitz's treatment of Thick. I think those are the most integral character moments, and for them individually and also for their relationships all together. But I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. Derri?
There might be a delay. Emily, what are your thoughts?
So I
so reasonably fresh off Golden Fool.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, Derri. So yes, Fitz was frustrating. That conversation that he had with the Fool was frustrating. Like on one hand, I agreed with the Fool, like, oh, don't have this right now. But at the same time, there was a part of me that felt like that I kind of sided with Fitz and was like, yeah, this conversation needs to be had. While I don't think that it needed to happen then and there, like at some point in time, that conversation needed to have been had. I personally love Thick. It's also kind of interesting of Hobb to give him so much power and for him to like have, like, he's got a cognitive delay, so he's not going to understand what he can do with that power, and it would be so easy for him to use that in very, very bad ways.
Yeah. There's definitely a naivety to Thick that he doesn't it's a really good balance, I think, that Hobb did with Thick in just his character of showing his naivety, however you pronounce the word, because of his cognitive disabilities, but also making him incredibly aware and human, as all humans are, regardless of cognitive abilities or disabilities. And I think I fell in love with Thick in Golden Fool.
Okay, I'm going to surprise you all because I don't hate Fizz, I don't hate Fool, both of them. I somehow, it is really surprising to me because you all gave 5 stars and I gave less rating, but I did not hate them at all. I, there is one scene I did not like. I did not like Fizz's behavior, how he treated Zina. Her name is Jina only, right?
Yeah.
uh, but that's the only thing where I was a little
Jenna, yes, the
disappointed,
hedge witch.
angry. But other than that, I yeah, Fizz is slow. Fizz cannot read the room. That is true. But I'm kind of used to that from Farsi. I expect that from him. I don't, in any scene. I don't expect he'll be sharp and he can take hints. So maybe because of that expectations, I did not hate him. And okay, I'll talk about in detail about that Fizz and Fool's conflict scene later. So I there I and I really liked Thick, even though he kind of put everyone in danger. Hobb really executed that scene very well. There is no way we could hate him because he doesn't know what he did. He isn't in his right mind. I hope we get to see him more. I hope he they'll find a way to heal him, maybe little bit, if not completely normal. um, I think there is one. If I hate any character in this book, that is Chade. Actually, I while I understand, the unfairness he has gone through while growing up. I understand his obsession with skill now, but somehow I am very disappointed with his decisions. He's a spy all his years. He has been a spy from past 30, 40 years. But when he broadcasted that skill message that okay, everyone come to Bucky, I was like very disappointed. He did not even consider enemies could listen to that message. That I was that's and There is another scene I'm disappointed. Maybe I'll think about it later. And Hap got a good character development. Yes, I agree with that, K Fox. And for me, this book is all about Ketricken. Actually, she is the queen. I loved her. Every scene with her, every decision by her, every interaction with her. She is the queen for me in this book, definitely.
Yeah, I think for me, just talking about Shade, like he, I never really liked Shade, like how I liked Fitz and all the other characters from the beginning, but I didn't hate him either. Sorry, whoops. But it was in this book that I started to realize how, I don't want to say despicable, but how much I really despised him. He's showing his basically true colors of, like, he's hiding behind this cloak of caring for people and taking care of everyone, but as a means to control them, at least from my perspective. And I really hated that. And I know that's like basically it's how he was raised, as the assassin and being the brother of the king and stuff like that, but it just, yeah, I just didn't, I came to really, really not like him because he was just so manipulative and just, he didn't care. He only cared when it was useful to his end game.
Do you also think that like just how the view on Shade turned so strongly in such in an opposite direction that is in part because Fitz is no longer looking at him as a boy. Like Fitz, in a sense, idolized him, right? And now he's seen all those flaws, and those flaws are magnified. And so, like, when that happens, and I'm just speaking for myself, it's so easy to just be like, oh, well, now I'm going to find, oh, and this is now wrong with you. This is wrong with you. This is wrong with you. Do you think that just that slight shift kind of turned everything? I mean, yes, Shade is despicable, and he does manipulate people for certain end games, but do you think that he's been knocked off that pedestal, and that part of the reason why that turn is so sharp is because of that?
Yeah, I mean, that's, he's trying to, I mean, poor Shade, like, he's seen everyone around him, Fitz, even the Fool, beautiful, thick, having these skill powers that he never had the chance to pursue. And there's this kind of desperation of, like, trying to reclaim some sort of identity outside of, like, some sort of identity for himself rather than as related to Shrewd. And as you said that, Emily, it kind of made me realize that it's that kind of that phrase or that saying where, not phrase, but that idea of, like, when you start seeing your parents as humans rather than just as parents, like, you realize, oh, there's a fallibility there. And so, like, you start seeing everyone, and this shows the depth and greatness of Hobb's character work, that you see that through, so you see those changes and those aspects through Fitz's eyes so clearly. And it's not like a, spur of the moment, like, thing. It's a very gradual thing until you finally, like, you have a point in time where you realize, oh crap, this is how he's been the entire time. Because it's not like all of a sudden he changed, like he did a 180 and, yeah, I'm gonna be, like, manipulative or whatever. He's always been that way, but the perception and the perception of him has changed gradually through Fitch's perspective, like you said, Emily. So
yeah, and I think Chade's storyline in general is very masterfully done. Oh, you're good. Because, like, everything, our perspective changed on Fitz, and our perspective changed. All of the seeds of that are in the previous books. Like, we can look back at the other books, and I think when we read them, and Derri could probably verify this, that all of these flaws are present to some extent or another in the previous books, and you can read them and find them. Our perception of him was just colored by Fitz's perspective.
I also think. Oh,
go ahead.
Are you done, Pete? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. I also think that one major aspect is that in all of the previous books that we have experienced Chade, even though he's kind of been out in the sunlight, so to speak, for some time now, we have not experienced him as such. We've always seen him having to be subtle with his power, and having to be subtle and sort of more, not necessarily conniving, just more secretive about everything. And now he is able to execute his power in a more open way. And we are seeing a different manifestation of his sort of power hungry nature through the skill. And I think that it's almost a bit of a stark contrast for us, because we saw him so long ago when he had to be in the shadows. And now not only is he able to be kind of upfront and more front and center, he has this new conduit for that lust for power.
Okay, before anyone starts, I'll let Derri, talk about her experience, and then
I'm encountering.
yeah, and then we move on to characters and responding to the chat.
It's with Shade, And much like Evie said, when you realise the flaws in your parents, because Fitz is recognising these for the first time, he's really focusing on. So, like anything, you've always got to remember this is Fitz's experience. So, super magnified because they're surprised that this is happening. And this was possibly a mistake, or this was possibly the wrong decision because of XYZ politically, or yeah, it's um, it's the because we're focused through Fitz, and because he's so surprised in these flaws in Shade, I think it's a bigger part of the book than any other character can see because it's new to Fitz.
I will add that I don't know if this is where you were heading towards, Anitha, but I think it's a good parallel to his perceptions of the Fool when the Fool is when he realizes that the Fool is Amber. It's a good parallel there.
Okay, we have a question. Did this book need a harsher editor? For me, yes.
No.
There is,
No.
I mean, not too much, but there is a little repetition, especially in the beginning, because I loved the prologue. It was brilliant writing, when Hobb approached that, pain and grief, the difference between them, and what is choice and what is inevitable. When Fitz started to question that, when he realized that his loneliness is his choice, it is not something inevitable, and that was very beautiful writing. uh, and again, in chapters 1 and 2, some of those points is repeated. For me, it wasn't necessary, or it could have done better. That's how I felt, but that is a very small thing, me nitpicking. Other than that, I don't think so.
So I have a quick question for everyone. Did anyone read, if you have the UK edition, did you read the back of the book before you started, or at any point while you were reading it?
I remember your warning, so I did not read. But having said that, whenever I read a book, because we turn these first pages, right? So when I close the book, I put it away like this, back on top. So there are sometimes my eyes went that way, and I read the name Ice Fire, but I immediately closed my eyes. I did not finish the sentence.
So for me, because I'm a dummy and I decided to read the back of the book, knowing what was going to happen, like technically knowing what it didn't even happen in the book, but what they are preparing to do, I think for me it allowed me to relish more in those moments, character moments, like just the scenes and stuff like that, rather than wondering, oh, what's going to happen next. I just felt more I got the benefit of a reread without actually rereading it, if that makes sense. So
Yeah, because you're not chasing that point of the story, able to just take it in and experience it. So
yeah. And not to say that for me, I like having that experience of just like relishing in a book. So like, not to say that looking for a plot is bad. That's just my personal preference.
Yeah, I think I was told not to read the back of the book, and I think ever since, like, I think it was Mad Ship, I have purposely not been reading the back of books because I think that one spoiled like half of the book or whatever. And I'm like, all right, UK people, you're doing bad with the backs of these books, so I'm not going to even read them at all.
So the funny thing is that I was told back when I was reading Liveshow not to read the back of the books. And I think Jake specifically was like, I read the back of the Golden Fool and it turned me off of reading the back of the summaries. What did I do? Read the back of Golden Fool. Like dummy.
I think it's also about expectations. When we look at the back of the book and read that last line about ice fire, we immediately expect ice fire to be there in this book,
Mhm.
at least from that half the point. But it was only mentioned like a one line, that's it. So there is a chance that people will be disappointed.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
let's
think
just
too
get
is
into.
sorry. I was going
Go
to
ahead,
just,
Derri.
it's just that when you're writing a blurb for these books, it's what do you put on the blurb? The complaint of so many people is nothing happens. I mean, what do you put on the back of the Golden Fool? Fitz returns to Buckkeep, argues with people.
Intrigue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a good
So,
way to summarize Golden Fool, mind you, I'm not saying this is the best summary ever, but I think a good summary of it or blurb would be something like, Fitz returns to Buckkeep and it seems a little bit like melodramatic or whatever, or like romantic, but like, learns to reconnect with old friends, whatever. I don't know. But that just doesn't seem like a Robin Hobb blurb and a Robin Hobb story. I don't know. Never mind. Carry on.
I would definitely lean on the mystery and intrigue and write something like, well, now our boy Fitz is back in the castle again, but everything has changed and mysteries abound as mysterious visitors come to visit the castle, and the piebalds are still active and waiting for who
Yeah.
knows what. Definitely lean into the intrigue.
Okay, let's rip off the bandage and jump into Fizz and Fool's conflict and Fizz and Fool's characters. Go ahead, any of you
yes.
can start.
So I I I told this to Derri jokingly, and it still is like mostly jokingly. I'm a little bummed that I found out that Amber was the fool before I started Tawny Man, because let's be honest, I'm not that smart. I wouldn't have put it together without Derri's help. So, I think finding out Amber is the fool and Fool is Amber, along with Fitz in Golden Fool, would have had that much more of an impact, and would have probably just hit even more. But again, same thing with reading the back of the book, knowing who Amber is, the Fool is, um, it made me, really kind of appreciate those conversations that were being had and really kind of empathize with both Fitz and the Fool in those conversations, in those scenes. So, hindsight is 2020, but I actually like how it turned out. At least for my reading experience.
Penny didn't realize it as well, so you're not alone.
Okay, good.
Okay, Pete?
I think one, I think Jack didn't really help the situation at all, and she exasperated a few things and kind of, I don't know, just some of the things she said. I was like, well, I think this could have been better if the Fool had let Fitz know earlier. And refresh my memory, did the Fool know that Jack was going to be with the delegation?
No, no,
Okay.
he's
No,
surprised.
they showed up out of the blue.
Yes. Okay, cool. More understandable then. It just, I think everything could have gone better if they had just sat down and not given each other the silent treatment for half of the book.
So,
But go
oddly
ahead.
enough, even though I think miscommunication trope is like everyone's most hated thing, this book is full of just not even miscommunication, no communication. And
Yeah.
oddly enough, I love it. So,
It's frustrating, but it's also understandable because this is a big thing to go from like, oh, I thought this, and then now it sounds like you're mooning after me, and creating images of me, and other people are laughing at me behind their mouths, like just like I think Fitz is I don't know if anger is the right word, is understandable, and Hobb does a very good job of putting you in his shoes for this.
Well, there's a sense of betrayal there. Like, Fool is the one person
It's
that he
hurt.
felt like, yeah, like Fool is the one person that Fitz felt he could, you know, be himself with, because the Fool knows, you know, pretty much all aspects of
Everything.
Fitz, and that the Fool doesn't give that to Fitz as well, is hurtful for him.
Evie, I just want to ask you, who did you think of this Paragon's new face in Ship of Destiny?
Again, I'm not that smart. I didn't put it together until Derri was like, yeah, Paragon, that's Fitz's face. I was like, oh, okay.
Okay, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead, Pete.
So I'll say to Bridget's comment of Fool demanding an account of of Fitz's life, does he actually do that? Like, do you think that? Because I don't feel like.
Yeah, several times.
Really? I think
Okay.
Fate does that more than the Fool.
Yeah, because if we go back to like the beginning of
Phil shows up at the cabin
When
and literally
back
is like,
to
tell
the-
me everything, leave nothing out.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay. K-Fox, go ahead.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that sort of sentiment that Bridget brought up of like it's not fair that Fitz has opened up so much to the Fool, and I definitely understand his hurt and betrayal, like his feelings of hurt and betrayal at finding out about the Fool's sort of other life, so to speak. And I agree that Jack did not help anything out, because Jack definitely made a lot of assumptions as well, and just told those assumptions to Fitz, like, oh yeah, you guys are lovers, totally. And whenever we never saw Amber say that at any point, whenever she was carving Paragon's new face and everything. So like all of that was just a very frustrating situation. And I think that for me, Bridget said it earlier in the chat, but I think that my frustration with the whole situation kind of came to a head whenever Burrick was at the castle, and Fitz tried to reach out to the Fool and be like, hey, this big emotional thing is happening to me. Can we talk? Can I have my friends? Can we do this? Like, in that, and whenever the Fool just stayed Lord Golden and just didn't even acknowledge it. And then later on, whenever Fitz had a conversation with Hap about love and everything, and was, discussing how sleeping with someone doesn't equate to love and everything, and he kind of reflected on that, and he came to the Fool and was like, hey, I had this conversation. I definitely saw that as him kind of like trying to open up a conversation so he could apologize. And again, the Fool just stayed in Lord Golden and just didn't even acknowledge all of that. And so I think that for me, a lot of my frustration came from the Fool's responses to these situations. Like the fight itself and the misunderstanding and everything itself was frustrating for me on both sides. I definitely felt more for Fitz than the Fool, but I feel like I also relate more to Fitz in a situation like that. I've been in situations like that, more similar to Fitz, where I've talked to people and had that feeling of betrayal, have that feeling of people hiding things from me. And so I was like, okay, I'm willing to give the Fool like the benefit of the doubt, but then it just kept happening. And that's whenever it started to really get under my skin, where the Fool was just completely cold shouldering him and not giving him an opportunity to come back around. At least that's how it felt for me.
It is fantastic because Hobb did an excellent job in this conflict here because based on our personal experiences, we might feel, more sorry for Fitz or Fool. It totally depends on our own
Hmm.
experiences. There are two things here. The first thing is conflict itself. I mean, that Hobb handled that, incredible. I mean, she did a fantastic job there. When Fool said that, what do you want? Which part of me do you want me to leave behind so that you accept me? I was like, that was a fantastic line. That was just brilliant. I always thought, we always see that Fool being very expressive of his love towards Fizz, though he did not tell most of his um, background. So I always thought Fool accepts whatever Fizz does. I did not expect that he will fight back. So I was surprised. At the same time, I liked that he stood his ground. And after that conflict, while I understand, your point, as Bridget and you said, K Fox, yes, Fizz was hurt when Burry came. He's very emotional. He wants to share with his friend. At the same time, Fool was heartbroken because he rejected. In Fool's perspective, Fizz rejected part of Fool. He did not accept part of Fool. He was heartbroken. Fizz
Mm.
wants
No, I
friendship.
agree.
Fizz wants Fool's friendship. Only part. Fizz wants only part of Fool. He's not accepting complete, overall, entire whole Fool.
Yep.
Fool was heartbroken because of that, and it's okay for him to be angry. At least, as far as I'm concerned, it's okay for him to be angry. Fizz, expecting support from his friend is all right. At the same time, Fool not ready for that, be go back to being friends is also all right, because what Fizz wants is that previous relationship. But the truth is out now. For Fool, he doesn't want to go back to being friends. He doesn't want Fizz only to accept half of him. He wants Fizz full acceptance. That's why he's not ready to go back to that previous relationship. So for me, Fool's anger is also okay.
Yep.
Both of those
I
points
agree.
I
Hmm.
understand.
Yes,
I agree
I.
completely in that the Fool, when you consider the conversation as well, and the point at which you sense Fool's heartbreak is the rejection of anything potentially physical. And the hurt in Fool is that Fitz thinks he wants it, whereas Fool is like, but you would never, so I would never, and yet you think I could want. And that total misunderstanding of the level of care that Fool has been taking with Fitz and
And
I
I think
don't
it's
want to upset his reality is just it's heartbreakingly beautiful because he's gone, no, I accept who you are and what you can and can't deal with, and I'm not going to ask more of you than you're prepared to give. And yet you don't believe me capable of that. And oh, that hurt my heart so much.
I
So
think
much.
more than anything, like it's more than just that the Fool the could of that statement. It's that Fitz thinks the
Mm.
Fool would take advantage of him and
Yeah.
you know um and I mean the Fool said it before.
Oh, it's a
It's
heart
more than just
betrayal.
yeah, the Fool said it before. It's more
Yeah.
than just plumbing between your legs. And he says
It's more than
in that
plumbing.
passage.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and I mean, you referenced the passage before, Anita, of you know, he doesn't talk about like, oh, I love you physically or whatever. He talks about his heart and like, I've loved you've known how I felt about you, and yeah, like he just Fitz never. I don't want to say he didn't accept it, but like he didn't recognize it. So to kind of skip ahead when
Very
at the very
avoidant.
end, huh? What'd you say, Derri? Sorry.
It's like, okay, I know that's there, but I'm just going to pretend that's not there.
Yeah,
Avoidant.
and I think to skip ahead, like when at the very end when Fitz says, "You said once that I might call you beloved. If I no longer wish to call you fool, beloved, I have missed your company." That made everything so much more impactful, and I just bawled reading that.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's a beautiful moment because it is a moment of Fitz accepting that his friend is more than the aspect he knew as a child, that this is a full person and I miss this person in my life. They're important.
And it's not just accepting the fool as the entirety entity. I think that moment is when Fitz has a growth moment where he's starting to accept a fuller form of himself as well. Like he's not constricting himself or confining himself to expectations of society or what he thinks he should do, and he has a bit more agency of himself. In that moment, he's kind of taking ownership of himself in a way.
I think
Initially, when that just one point, okay, initially when
Okay,
that conflict started, Fizz doesn't even grasp the complexity of full situation. He did not even understand to accept or reject. It took him some time to come to terms with that. So by the end, okay, something he's beyond my comprehension, but I want to be friends with him. So it took him some time for that before that final scene between them. I think his rejection comes from that lack of knowledge and lack of perspective. Okay, go ahead.
definitely. Yeah. Well, I mean, that goes well with what I was about to say as well, because basically at the end, whenever he is willing to accept the fool and call him beloved and everything, I think that just shows the growth of Fitz's understanding of the concept of love as well. Because if we look back at his life, the only person who has ever loved him without trying to use him in some way is Molly. And other than that, everybody who has claimed to love him, other than like Patience, I think, Patience never tried to use him, but in some way or another, he has been used by all of these people. Like with Chade, he was, trained to be an assassin with everybody in his family. Even Burrick, even though he didn't use him in the same way, he still tried to kind of capture him and mold him to be something that he wasn't. And I think that he just has a lot of misconceptions about what love is. And I think that through that confession and through knowing what love is through the Fool, that acceptance, I think that he grew a lot as a person as well.
Well,
Okay, so one thing, I disagree with you that Molly is the only person who has loved Fitz like unconditionally or without putting kind of like any expectation or demands on him. In the sense that like for Molly, her time with Fitz was like her time away from her dad. That was kind of like her out
That's true.
from this abusive relationship. Two, I think my feeling on the Fitz and the Fool relationship is very complicated. Like I love that whole relationship, but it's very complicated, and I wonder if some of we have to remember that the Fool is still the prophet and Fitz is still the catalyst, right? And I'm wondering if Fitz, some of it in his feeling of betrayal with the Fool and Amber and this identity is like, if you're able to take on this whole other identity, what are you then doing to manipulate me as your catalyst?
Mm-hmm.
Thanks. Yeah. I will say, before I forget my thought, because I have a pea brain. Bridget's comment about having a problem with Fitz having to do all the apologizing, Fool did wrong too. So I can totally see that perspective. For me, and this isn't me trying to justify anything, although it might be a little bit, let's be honest. I feel like Fitz uses a lot of people and things as crutches. So, like in Assassin's Quest, when he didn't have the Fool or Burrick or Night Eyes, he really had to learn to depend on himself. And since he lost Night Eyes in Fool's Errand, he is really kind of latching on to the Fool, and that relationship as Tom Badgerlock and Lord Golden, and that's becoming his crutch, and his kind of his safe space in a way. And that's actually, now that I think about it, like that makes the betrayal all that more impactful, where this was supposed to be his safe space, his relationship, the place he could fall back to when everything was going terribly wrong, to know that it wasn't what he thought it was, is that much more, terrible for Fitz. But I don't think this idea that Fitz had to do all of the apologizing and work to repair the relationship, the Fool was always the person that he was with Fitz, and I think Fitz had to come to realize it was like a 75-25 relationship at that point. Fitz had to do the work to come to 50-50 with Fool, if that makes sense.
For me, I think
I agree. I agree completely.
Fool is heartbroken. He's not ready to, talk, or not ready to have that conversation until Fizz understands and accepts him completely. So for me, it's okay if Fool is not ready to talk and apologize. Just because Fizz is ready and just because Fizz needs Fool doesn't mean Fool has to be ready to. It's okay if someone is ready to talk. That is my personal opinion, but I
Yeah.
understand why. Yeah, I mean, as for to Bridges' point, I understand actually why. Yes, it looked like that, but I don't. I'm not angry with Fool for that.
Yeah, I mean,
No,
it's
and
like a
but
weird.
Fool isn't perfect. Fool
Yeah.
isn't perfect, and we feel this so much from Fitz because we're in Fitz's head. But the Fool isn't perfect, but the Fool has emotions, and the Fool can make mistakes, and the Fool can lash out and hurt somebody else. And for the most part, he doesn't. It's very rare that we see an emotional reaction for anything from the Fool, which I think is the indication of how profoundly this hurt him, that this is how they reacted. And that it's going to take some time to accept those, offers of the olive branch that Fitz is putting out there. I think it's completely valid, and is why the relationship reads so well, because this is how truly emotional relationships work. Not everybody's on the same page at the same time. They're just not. This is how reality goes, and so it reads beautifully.
Yeah, I think for me, so there's two probably very not clear points I want to make. So the first one is in response to Bridget's comment. The Fool can say, "I'm too bad to talk." Not sorry, I have never met this Burrick. It's definitely, like, again, can totally see it. But at the same time, I think it is debatably an overreaction to, the Fool giving his whole self, like heart-wise, to Fitz, being rejected, and then, well, okay, if you don't want the whole me, then you're not going to get any of me at all. What's that really bad Marilyn Monroe quote? If you can't accept me at my worst, you can't have me at my best, or something. I don't know, something like that. And then the other thing is that, and I totally forgot it. Oh my god.
Oh.
My brain is not working. Carry on. It was probably about Lord Golden, but I can't remember. My point was fun. So
Thanks for joining, Chrissy. Keep in touch. Maybe you can join live in future.
That would be cool.
And okay, if you are there, you are saying something.
No, so I was
Okay.
just, you mentioned that Chrissy could maybe join us one time in the future, and yes, that would be cool. But
I remembered my second point.
We've covered the full.
Sorry, I'm being like in school. Like I remember my second point. Raising my hand. About Nero's comment about the White Prophet and the Catalyst. I think that is another aspect of why the Fool kind of stepped away from Fitz, where again they are much closer than you would anticipate the White Prophet and the Catalyst to be. And the Fool is someone who is supposed to live for a very long time. And I think he's probably just also trying to separate himself also to kind of see if he can disconnect his feelings from Fitz in a way, so that if something were to happen, then there's not a lot of hurt on his side.
Also, when Fizz gave feathers or when he told him about tattoos, Fool tells Fizz that, okay, thank you for telling me this because I thought I lost my way. I'm still going in the right direction. Fool there, he was he thought he lost his way because there is nothing he's adding to change the world at that moment. If we are done with this topic, I want to move on to Ketricken and Wit. But if you want to talk about it more, I'm okay too.
Ketricken.
I think my final
Okay.
point on the Fitz and Fool relationship is that Fool hasn't loved anyone before, and it's completely new to Fool. He doesn't know how to deal with these feelings. He doesn't have any idea of how to integrate that into the life that they've built for themselves. So he's possibly even more confused and has no clue how to cope than anyone gives him credit for. So that's my final thoughts on the Fitz and Fool arguing in this book, because it breaks my heart to read it every time. Because I'm like, no, guys, come on. You can, anyway.
Okay, let's jump to Ketricken with anything related to Ketricken.
I adore her.
She's the best.
Absolutely adore her.
Go
The fact
ahead,
that
anyone who wants to.
she grieved for Night Eyes. She wasn't grieving for Fitz's loss. She was grieving for herself. She felt the loss of Night Eyes in a very real way that only Fitz knows. And for Fitz, Ketricken is the only one who has felt that connection to Night Eyes. And the grief that they share is grief for Night Eyes, not for each other. They're not sharing the grief that the other one feels. They're both just grieving Night Eyes. And that's profoundly beautiful that they were able to have that moment where they could properly say goodbye. It was just, so good.
Yep. And I really loved Ketricken's dealings with the wit, or the witted, the old blood specifically. Just her coming into herself as a queen and showing and kind of establishing herself to Chade, like, look, you don't know everything, Chade. You need to chill. You're coming from a certain perspective, and the perspective that you're coming from is not the one that I want. It's not how I want to do this, right? So I'm gonna do it my way. And like the whole dutiful as a hostage thing, like as soon as they mentioned the possibility, I was like, yeah, it's gonna be dutiful. Like that was a nice moment of like, oh, I can see where Ketricken's coming from. And just like she is such a empathetic character and an amazing queen. And I am glad she is making decisions for herself.
Yeah, yeah. And stepping out of Shade's shadow, as it were, where, yes, you know how the kingdom used to run, and I know that you want to keep it running that way, but I actually want to rule
I
and
want to
move the
change.
kingdom in a different direction, and stopping me from doing that. This has to happen. And that she finally feels that she has the support morally to do it from Fitz. That she's like, no, because in her heart, Ketricken does believe that Fitz should be ruling. So she's like, no, because he said I can, so I'm gonna. And I love that.
Do you guys think that Chade in some way doesn't view Ketricken as like almost the rightful ruler because she's not a Farseer?
I think that's
Yeah,
not his
absolutely.
problem. He doesn't like her mountain ways, so he criticizes her for that.
He doesn't
Ketrigan's
understand them. He doesn't
yeah.
see the value in it.
Well, I mean, that's going back to what we were talking about before of Shade is does it benefit his vision or his gain? Does he get a gain out of it? And by him, by extension, it's the six duchies and the Farseer line. So yeah.
K Fox.
So I really appreciate how steadfast Ketricken is and how that does grow throughout, especially this book, how we see her kind of step into her role more and develop and become a bit more independent of Jade. I do agree that that's good. And showing her ruling how she feels she should rule. And I especially love that with her interactions with the Old Blood and how basically she kind of puts her foot down and is like, look, we have tried it your way. We're trying it my way now. And I just appreciate her confidence in that. And I also appreciate all of her conversations with Fitz. The morning scene, of course, was wonderful. I cried my eyes out at it. And I also love how she specifically is like, you deserve better than this, Fitz. You deserve to be recognized. You deserve, like, these are all things that I want to give you. And then later on, whenever he is captured in the town after the fight with the piebalds and everything, and how she wants to march down there and get him out of prison and get him away. And I think that that was almost like a breaking point for her with Chade, because Chade was like, no, we can't do that. And then it sort of like, I feel like after that, she kind of stood up
Yeah,
for
she's
herself
like,
more, because
I've
she
had
was
enough
like,
with the
yeah,
secret. He's gonna die.
exactly. Exactly. And so I think that once Fitz gets through that and everything, it was very eye-opening for her. And I look forward to seeing her development as we go forward.
As much as I like
I
Ketrigan
like that
from
in
the
that
beginning,
moment after that they've healed Fitz. Ketricken tells Dutiful who Fitz is. That was powerful because she took that decision in herself and said, no, actually, I'm the queen and he's allowed to know this. I really loved that. Hey, Jennifer.
as much as I like Ketrigan from the beginning, this book took her to different level where she found her ground where she's comfortable. Even the other six Duchess dukes, started having confidence in her. So, and she has learned all that intrigue. Before initially, she was though she's good, she was little naive, but she has learned intrigue and that negotiation from Chade. So she started using all her lessons. She finally had risen to that queen's role. you know I When she talked to, in addition to all your points, that morning scene was beautiful, and she, growing beyond Chade's lessons was, really great. But when she said, when she told Fizz that, Fizz, do you think it is easy for me to bring Nettle here? That means that I am anticipating my own son's death. Do you think it is easy for me to talk about it, to consider the possibility of that? That was just beautifully done, actually, because. When it's not like Jade. When Jade proposes that he's only talking about duty, but when Ketricken talks about that, she's also talking as a mother. She's
Yeah.
anticipating her own son's death. So that was really well done, actually.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Emily.
So I'm gonna be vague simply because my brain is blurring on something Ketricken, but like I was not on the major Ketricken bandwagon in Farseer. Like she was there, she was a character, she was good, but I was not like, yes, Ketricken is amazing and awesome. And as the series
I feel you
progressed,
too, Evie. I feel it too.
what? You hate me now for saying that?
Oh God.
Sorry.
It hurts. It hurts so bad.
It wasn't, and I'm
It
not saying
does.
like it wasn't that I thought that she was bad. I was just like, I'm not on the hype because I was more like
Yeah.
Night Eyes and Farseer and other characters.
Yeah.
Okay, so but like as the series progressed, I really like Ketricken is just a badass because not only is she able to navigate all the politics of the court, but she's still able to do her end game of I have to be the servant. And so the decisions that I'm going to make and the things I'm going to do, it's not only has to benefit my family and my line, but it also has to benefit my people.
Hmm.
She's still being a sacrifice.
Yes, sacrifice. Sorry, not servant. Wrong word.
It's okay.
Well,
It's okay. We can understand.
at the same time, like you are like correct. Like servant isn't like the wrong word because she is very much the epitome of a servant leader, which is a leadership style that I've always respected. I've always
Yes.
like that's something that growing up, it's always like, hey, this is the best type of leadership, and I've affirmed that throughout my own experiences. And I think that's really one reason I really connect with Ketricken because that is something that I value in any like workplace environment I go to, and I see someone doing anything along those lines. I'm like, you're the person I want to follow. You're the person I want to like be in your department if I can, because that type of person will always take care of those people. And then being that, like having the opportunity to do that in some jobs I've had, it's just like it's also straight. It's also rewarding in a way that you wouldn't think it is rewarding to a certain extent because you're helping take care of the people under you. And it just Ketricken is great because of it.
Okay. Before moving on to that big
I
topic,
agree with all of those things.
I want to give you all a chance to talk about all other side characters. Laurel, what is that guy's name?
Web.
Civil.
Oh,
Civil? Is it Civil?
Yeah.
Okay, Civil, Jinnah, Hap, and
Civil,
Web,
yeah. Yeah.
all other side characters. What are your
I
thoughts?
felt
Who are
my
your
heart break for
favorites?
Swift.
Yes.
oh,
I mean,
yeah.
this poor boy is growing up with Burke, and we've seen Burke looking after a young boy and how firm he can be with his beliefs around the wit. We saw that. We saw that front and center when he was raising Fitz. And so for Swift to have had the similar experience and for Fitz to not be able to go, dude, I know what you mean, was really difficult to watch and feeds into the fool's concept of time and cycles and behaviors just continuing and continuing. And the tragedy of it almost that this little boy who's clearly got a gift um, has never felt able to express himself, and brings us back to what you said, Anita, with the fool not feeling like his whole self was seen, visible, accepted, acknowledged. You have that with Swift. everything about him wasn't accepted, and there's a real sadness to that in Swift's character, and I really felt for Swift so
And
much.
as much as he wants to come to Buckkeep and accept his role as Witted, also last
Mm.
at the end he was dull. He wasn't able to concentrate on his classes. I think it's because of why how Barik disowned him. Also, I think he is very sad about that. It is really sad. His
Mhm.
It is
uh,
sad. It's
yeah.
tragic.
Well, I would say he wasn't able to focus on his classes because he's smart. Like I think
Yeah,
that's something that they
Yeah.
mentioned was that Burrick, like he
it
taught
taught
him
him
ahead of his
beyond.
time. 'Cause
Yeah,
he was homeschooling him, and he was like, "Hey, yeah, you're
Hmm.
smart. Let's just keep you going." Um, I do think that with Swift, it's another signpost that in and Anita and K Fox, since you guys are, I don't think either of you have read Fool's Fate. This is something you guys could comment on. That I think Fitz will be pulled out of the shadows at the end of Fool's Fate as well, because there's so many people in his life that know who he is that are gravitating towards the castle, and like we're gonna have Nettle next book, and I'm excited. Like I'm well, that's not confirmed, but I'm pretty sure that we're gonna have more Nettle next book, and it'll be interesting to see how everybody deals with Fitz. Hey, he's alive. Maybe not everybody, but
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I feel like there is, like, now that Swift is in the picture, I feel like there's almost no way that Molly and Burrick are not going to find out about Fitz. And I don't know what's going to happen from there. I don't know how it's like how they're going to handle that. I'm nervous for him, but I feel like yeah, I think that Nettle probably is going to come to the castle, and with Nettle and Swift there, that it'll just kind of mount it even more. And I don't know. I'm like I said, I'm really nervous for all of them because I feel like it's going to be a really shocking and kind of horrible thing at first because it just means so much for all of them. With Molly and Burrick, it's so much like a betrayal almost and a falsehood. Like their life has kind of been a lie up to this point because a lot of their life has been built on the idea that Fitz is dead. And I'm very, like I said, I'm just very anxious for all that to happen. I really do think it's going to happen probably in the next book. I don't know. We'll see.
Okay, if we are talking already about theories, I mean Hobb is really great at foreshadowing, and she did so many things in this book, even in previous book. I'm almost worried about every character because she talked about Thick's condition, and Thick may not survive for long, so there is a high chance that he will die. So Nettle has to get involved. I am worried that Dutiful will die, and there is that fool said that he will die, in that island. So, and I am a Chade is traveling at this age with skill. I think he will use his last skill ability to either save a fool or Fitz, or he will drain himself or thick somehow. I think Chade will die. I mean, at least two, three people will die. I think Civil will die in that quest. And back home, everyone is leaving Ketricken, beautiful Fizz, Chade, everyone. So she'll be in harm from piebalgs. So I'm worried about Ketricken. I'm worried. I think Swift will die while saving Ketricken, and I am worried about each and every person. I need to read that. And, because of this reason, also, I became restless. I was like, okay, let's talk about that. Forget about Hap.
everybody's gonna die, according to Anita.
I'm,
Anita, confirmed. Anita is George R. R. Martin.
I'm extremely sensitive and I cry a lot. So I kind of developed this ability to mentally prepare for every possibility, so that that final effect will be, little bearable for me.
yeah.
The only person
So
that's not gonna
Anita,
die is Night Eyes because he's already dead.
Right.
Out too soon.
I'm sorry.
Like, I
Always been
cry.
too soon.
I'm a crier. I'm a crier when I read books, but I have never sobbed until I've read Robin Hobb, and I have sobbed multiple times during multiple books. Like literally, like, why is this happening? Like legit sobbing.
It's a thing. It happens. It's the whole rocking and ugly crying. It's not a good look.
I mean,
but it's a
Derri,
real thing.
You can confirm this. You still cry even though you know what's going to happen, right?
I do. I cry talking about things that I've read 20 times, and it's the emotional impact that woman can put on a page is astonishing. That we can go into from the end of Golden Fall, that you're all heading into Fool's Fate. The tears are just unreal going into the conclusion of this. And I just want all of you here who got to read or get to read Fool's Fate after Golden Fall, knowing that there are books afterward that are in the Fitz and Fool trilogy. All of you, pity me, because I didn't have that when I read it the first time. And my terror was so real. So real.
I
because
can
I
totally
didn't know they were
feel
both going to
for that.
survive.
I can totally feel for that, Derri. I'm so sorry you had to go through that, because I know that there is an entire trilogy, Fizz and Fool. There is high chance that Fool won't die. Even then, I was like, when Fool told that prophecy, I was like, oh my god. Okay, sorry everyone in the chat. That's my way of coping up. I am preparing for everyone, so that so I'm talking about everyone's death. I'm really sorry. You know, see, I am an extremely sensitive person. I cry for almost every book, every movie I watch from when I was a kid. But there is a different with Hobbes emotional scenes and other books. See, there are in other books when characters I like die, I cry a lot. But Hobb, people doesn't even have to die. People doesn't even have to go through some traumatic experience. See, for example, Fizz and Fool's conflict is there. That is something even we can go through in our relationships, in our lives. We can relate to that pain. That's why even with those scenes we cry. I end up crying almost every line with Hobb.
I mean, yes. So I mean, to take it all the way back to Assassin's Apprentice, I'm still traumatized by the roller coaster of emotions that I went through with Nosy, of like, oh no, he died. Crying, bawling because he died, bawling because he's alive, and then bawling again because he died again. And I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Honestly, I think that's why I couldn't connect as much as I could have with Night Eyes, because I was still traumatized over Nosy. And I'm like, I want Nosy back.
I lost my train of thought. Okay.
Anyway, sorry.
Go ahead. No, it's okay. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was the one that put that train off the tracks. So I have no theories about Fool's Fate.
Do we have thoughts about?
Okay.
I was going to say, do we have thoughts from those of you who haven't moved on?
Yeah. Pete K. Fox, your tattoos, I'm saying. Your thoughts on tattoos and ice, fire, and dragons, everything. And in the chat, if you haven't read Beyond Golden Fool, please tell your theories also.
Do you have some theories, K Fox, or?
I feel like I have a lot of uncertainty, and that's about it. Like, I think that Icefire might be one of the voices in the skill, that maybe Icefire was the presence that they felt at Others Island whenever Dutiful and Fitz were there. I don't know, because apparently both Dutiful and Fitz experienced it as very different things. So I don't know if that was maybe Icefire or just a completely different presence. Because from my understanding, and I might be remembering this wrong, I thought that Fitz experienced it as a sort of more feminine presence, but Dutiful mentioned that it felt more fatherly to him. And so I don't know if that was just a different perception of this being, and if it's just like a being that's kind of beyond that and above that, or if it was just a misperception on one of their behalves. I don't know. But I feel like that maybe could be Icefire, but I don't know because I don't know anything about Icefire. I don't know if Icefire is a true dragon or maybe a manifestation of the skill, like the dragons that happened in Assassin's Quest. Maybe it's just a conglomeration of skill users that got frozen in time somehow. I don't know. So,
Who is this bird, parrot, or something? What is this? Anyone thought about it?
I mean, it's obviously a representation of the fool, right? Must be a Jamilian bird.
Yeah.
I say I don't know.
I just kind of see that, like how he was kind of like ornately dressed, and it's just another.
Other books, there are clear indications that this is very clear in Fool's Errand, but this one is not at all clear.
Oh, Bridget said something.
What's a big thing?
Oh,
that's what I thought when I saw. I mean, when I was talking, when I was reading that paragraph, I even checked the colors of this. This has head of yellow, but that Jamalian shoulder bird, the head was said white, but we did not see after that.
Blame the publishing company, I guess.
maybe it's because of, I don't know. I was going to say maybe it has something to do with the feathers.
Okay.
Fool has a lot of symbolic connection to birds and things with wings. And as you said, K-Fox, that the feathers, not only have we got the feathers that Fitz collects on Others Beach, but we also have the feathers that Lord Golden is collecting when they go looking for Dutiful. There is a thematic thing there with birds and feathers. So, yeah.
Okay, before we continue this, I just want to respond to one of Niru's comments. In Neru, I used to think this until Ship of Destiny, but what happened in Ship of Destiny? What happened with Althea? I don't feel safe anymore. I don't feel I'm in good hands anymore. Hobb traumatized me, and I felt. I mean, I talked about this in that live show also. I felt betrayed by Hobb because Hobb said that Vivesha said that to Kenneth that if you did this, you cannot. What did she say? You cannot escape from the justice even in death. Something along the line she said. But Kenneth did escape. He has a good death, knowing he has a son. He became the king of Pirate Islands. His son became the prince of Pirate Islands. He did not get any justice. He wasn't punished, in my opinion. So
we will come back to that when you've read further along, Anita. We will talk about that some more when you get further along.
Until then, I can say this. I mean, Hobb broke me. Then I betrayed. I felt betrayed. I don't feel safe
definitely
anymore.
come back to that.
Okay. So I just wanted to say that. And sorry for interrupting. You can all continue.
See, I trust Hobb. Like, I agree that I don't necessarily feel safe, but I trust her in that I trust that she knows what she's doing. Like, there was something that happened in a book where I was like, if this is going to happen, I'm going to chuck the book across the room, and I'm not going to pick this book up. I'm going to be so angry if this is what's going to happen. And it happened. And I wasn't angry with it. Like, because she weaved the story to the point where I was like, she's right. This is how it needed to happen. this is what needed to happen, and how she handled it was how it needed to happen. So like I trust her that she knows what she's doing.
And I will say, in not only counterpoint to Anitha, which again, valid critique of Ship of Destiny, but also like reflective of just Robin Hobb's writing and character work, is that even though this is a fantastical world, it's a fantastic fantasy series, they're all very human characters, and all very even the live ships are very human characters. Like there's just a very much a realness to these characters on the page that unfortunately there is not always justice for things that were, for wrongs that were done. Unfortunately, that happens more frequently than justice actually being served, but we'll not get into that. So that's why I was able to. I don't. For me, going back to Ship of Destiny. For me, that scene is more about the actually it kind of parallels the Fools and Fitz's relationship, the sense of wholeness and the ability to share one's whole self with another, and you can't really do that if you have a barrier in place. For Fool, even though he thought he was sharing his full self, he was still keeping aspects of himself away from Fitz. And for Fitz, he wasn't sharing his full self with Fool because he wasn't able to recognize, open himself up fully. So
just quickly in response to Nero in the chat, Risk being Webb's Bond animal. Risk is a gull, so she's she's a seagull, so she's not so beautifully coloured, unfortunately. But
Okay, Jennifer, I'm not sure what you're talking about here. Maybe I missed it.
The aspects of the voices in the skill. This was that Dutiful and Fitz heard differing versions of. So,
yeah, no, that's kind of the impression I got as well, was that it kind of feels like it's the manifestation of the things that they really don't have. Like Dutiful never really had a father, and Fitz never really had a mother in his early days until Patience came around. So, and even with Patience, she was Patience.
So many barriers there for that relationship.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry for pulling you all back to Ship of Destiny. I need some time to get back into this book. Meanwhile, you can.
I think you might need to actually talk to a therapist about that, to be fair, because this is clearly deeply affecting your heart. Yeah. So there's some things I think that maybe need
listen,
to be
Hobb is cheaper than therapy,
to do
okay?
that and bring out your emotions.
Yeah, but Hobb is cheaper than therapy. So.
Yeah, but she causes the more. I've spoken to my therapist about things in these books, and about how emotional some things have made, and it has genuinely led to some very insightful conversations about why it affected me so profoundly, and it's been helpful. Because yes, Shadia, she does bring out your feeling, and you realise that you do care about things or don't, and that's things that perhaps you weren't focused on are actually bothering you a lot.
Yeah.
So that's how profoundly moving Hobb can be.
Okay, this is actually maybe a good hint, but my problem is we did not talk about it in this book. Why on this book it is there?
I mean, maybe it's similar to the summary.
Because you can't put an argument in the picture.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have hopes necessarily for what you might get in Fool's Fate?
Not fears, but hopes.
False prophet, possibly death to the false prophet, but more false prophet.
Definitely Nettle.
Yes, absolutely.
I actually completely forgot about the whole sequence with Nettle in the dream, where she basically just like uh, like takes to Taglia and just like casts her aside. She's like, "Oh, go away, you pesky little dragon!" Like, what was that? Like,
That was kick-ass.
and that whole thing just made me so excited. And I really do hope that she's in the next book because that was so cool. And like, dang, she's powerful. What?
Uh-huh.
It will be really cool even if Nettle doesn't go on quest, even if she can help them, you know, via skills. If she can help them survive, you know, against a false prophet, it will be really cool. I want to
Mhm.
see something like that.
What'll be really interesting, I think it's just interesting in general that both of Fitch's children are more powerful than him.
I think Fizz is also powerful, but who is that guy? Galen broke his skill power. I think because of that, we don't see him
At
that
its full
his talent.
potential.
But theoretically, that is at least the physical aspect of that has been fixed now.
Trauma is more than just physical,
Yeah.
Pete.
So
Yeah.
maybe
You're right.
it is, and it also means that there's more of you to now discover that Fitz, now that Fitz has been healed.
Fitz
So
becomes a
while his
skill
children may
god.
be more powerful than him now, the future for Fitz isn't set yet. You haven't read it, so
True. The
Yeah,
entirety of
he
the
is
Fitz and the
very
Fool trilogy
powerful.
is taken place within the Fitz's mind.
It was all a dream.
Literally.
don't even
Yeah,
joke.
Fool actually does die at the end of Fool's fate, probably. And then Fitz and the Fool is just Fitz
Don't
overcoming his
even.
trauma of
Just don't
Fool's
even.
death, right? I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Pete,
I have a very
No, 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 no,
twisted
no.
mind sometimes about how horribly Hobb can twist into us.
Plot
Um,
twist: Robin Hobb is J.J. Abrams, aka
who is
Martin.
J.J. Abrams?
and somehow Regal returned.
Oh God.
Oh gosh.
No, stop.
Oh my god, I'm lost here. What is OP?
Overpowered.
Overpowered.
Overpower, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yes, we discussed Thick about Thick Jennifer. We all love him. I mean, he's.
Of course we
I
love
mean,
him.
I
We think
hope.
he's marvelous.
Yeah, but I mean, my prediction. What I'm predicting is ending, so I'll not say it again. I just hope he'll get some peace.
Mhm. Oh,
Oh,
Channing.
he's traumatized now,
Yes,
so yeah, he's
yes.
going so.
I mean,
Look,
especially that he volunteered to go on that quest. He's like, he's exploring castles. That's when I first got doubt, and he's too much into, and he volunteered to go on quest. I mean,
so you're saying that Webb is now
The
the
fact that
witted version of
Ketricken
Beard?
likes him, the fact that Ketricken likes him, goes a long way in Webb's favour for me.
Mhm.
Mhm.
mm, uh, I mean, suspicious as in I won't say that he'll turn out as a villain or something, but I think he knows more than he's letting on. That's what I got from him.
Mhm. I think I'm more curious
That's
about
fair.
Webb than
That's fair.
suspicious.
That's a fair assumption. Hmm.
Yes, I do understand this, Chadia.
Okay,
This is
no spoilers. No
It's a very
spoilers.
good
Okay,
way of looking at it.
Chadia, you don't know my imagination, how my brain works, so please don't give me hints. Whatever others give me, I imagine extra double. That's why traumatic incidents I get I mean affected that much because I add my imagination adds extra 2-3 times more. So don't give me hints. I need to go away from this comment because already my brain is running.
Oh no.
Yes. The thing we
Yeah.
had in for Fitz in this book will impact things in future. And I think that that's a fairly safe thing to say and have it not be a spoiler. It's going to impact things.
Yeah.
So
It's okay, you're good. Okay. I want to add one last thing about Civil. I'm really sad with everything happened to him and his family. It's I mean I at the same time I'm actually surprised that Hobb did not resolve or did not end Piebald's story here, because I thought entire next book will be focused on the quest in Out Islands. But I think Piebalds are still there. That woman, Silver Eye, Silver Fox, Silver Eye, that
Mhm.
woman, I think either she will join them or she will lead them. I mean,
Mhm.
they will have some play to role, and Swift is here and Nettle is here. I mean, I'm actually worried that Piebalds will find out them too. So we don't know. I
Well,
have
so
only I have only fears, hopes, no hopes. What does that tell about me?
only fears.
you prepare for the worst,
And then you're
and
pleasantly surprised.
yeah.
That's right. That's right. Anything positive that happens gets to be super positive.
Yes, it did feel little anticlimactic. That tells me that he is not the main villain when it comes to pieballs.
And honestly, that kind of makes sense whenever you think about the old blood communities not really having a leader. Why would the piebalds really have a solid leader? Why would, you know, killing one piebald, affect them whenever the old blood as a community has never really been structured that way?
And that would be too simple of a solution for it as well.
Sorry, I don't know why I'm blurry. Whatever.
I tend to write more nuanced.
I don't know why I'm blurry, but I'm blurry.
Do we have any final maybe?
Okay, any final thoughts? Everyone, chat if you have any questions, you want to discuss any other character. Oh, okay. I just want to ask you guys this. Do you guys feel disappointed or did not like how Fizz treated Zina? I mean, when Fizz is with Laurel in that stuck pig, what is the anyway the tavern, when Jinnah comes, he did
Mm.
not I mean, I understand why he did not go and explain to Jinnah he did not love her. I totally understand that, but I think at least he should have gone and told her nothing is there, but let's talk, let's quit, something like that, leaving that, because he may not love Jinnah, he may not expecting any relationship from her, but for Jinnah, that was a betrayal. She was hurting. So I think many people behaves that like that in real life too. Many people doesn't want that confrontation. They'll think that okay, she already saw that, she already assumed this much. Let's break off the relationship this way. They avoid that confrontation. That's what even Hobb showed us that. So I'm really disappointed with Fizz there.
Well, I think not to sound like a broken record, but I think Fitz and Jenna is another parallel for Fitz and Fool, where Jenna doesn't know the Fool's full, identity. She has suspicions or whatever, and when she finds out about him, that he has the wit, she just totally rejects him.
Well, she knew. I think she at least no. She knew he had the wit to begin with.
Mhm.
She was just
I didn't think she did.
I
Yeah,
knows.
because there was like a charm or something
I thought
that
it was
exposed him
very cleverly done.
very early on.
She did. She knew.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
she
Yeah.
just
She
was
knew.
of the
She
whole
knew.
It's like she knows that,
She
but
was
she's
the
tolerating him
yeah,
as long
it's
as
like a
he doesn't do
fetishism,
anything.
but also tokenism.
Mhm.
Yeah. There's
Oh,
a lot of bigotry being explored in Jinnah where I
Mhm.
can present a non-bigoted face to this and pretend I'm not bigoted. But the moment anything happens that supports that bigotry, no, I'm falling back.
Yes.
And I,
yeah. Now that
yeah,
I
I thought it was quite a distasteful character trait that did well.
yeah now that I remember, it's after the fight with Lodwine that she's like, I don't want
Yeah.
anything to do with you, right?
She did not
Mhm.
say that I don't want anything to do with you. She
But
said that,
basically,
yeah,
I thought you were better, is what she said.
yeah, something like that.
Very much
Yeah.
I always thought that the Witted were terrible. I just thought you were the exception because you didn't let your
Mhm.
Witted
Yeah.
side, take you over.
Yeah.
It was real. Just as soon as she was saying that, I was like cringing real hard because, like, uh,
See, I am not saying Jinnah is a great character or anything. Yes, she's completely bigoted and dead, and that
Mhm.
Ed scene Fizz is better off without her. But irrespective of that, I felt when she saw Laurel in with Fizz with Laurel in the pub, I felt. I mean, he should have done better.
mhm, yeah.
See, I don't know. For me, the everything with Jenna made me uncomfortable in this book because from the very beginning, it started out with Fitz being like, this is stupid. We shouldn't do this. And she kind of just dragged him into her bedroom and he was like at first he was resistant to it and she kind of just went with it. And I remember it saying something about how he felt off or he felt odd. And I don't know if that might have been a charm interaction or what.
Mm.
And then and then like throughout that relationship, it was just very awkward to me. And then the whole thing with Laurel, I don't know. I'm the type of person where I'm very upfront in relationships and I am very outspoken about understandings and everything. But to me, they never had a discussion of what their relationship was and if they were even exclusive. And so while I think that her
Yeah.
coming in and being hurt is valid, I also don't think that it was necessarily something that she should have assumed anyways. So just everything about Jenna in this book kind of made me feel really icky.
She
I don't know.
had any kind of claim. Yeah.
Hmm.
Any final thoughts? Anyone in the chat and you guys? Okay, then I want to close this off soon, less
Good.
than 2 hours this time. If anyone in the chat, if you want to add, I mean, we will be doing a live show for every book. So if you want to join, just drop a message to me in Discord. I may not be able to include all of you in one discussion, but I'll make sure to include you in future one of future books, one of those books. And thank you for joining. It's actually, I know I gave very less rating, but if I when I started discussing, I mean, I loved most of the things. Maybe I should increase my rating. I mean, I realized how much I loved while talking. That's
Mhm.
weird, actually.
Yeah.
so my experience is your experience where you appreciate it more after, like, the more you're away from it. There you go.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So thanks everyone for joining. See you in the full thread discussion. I think we get to discuss overall thoughts then. Maybe it will go beyond 2 hours, maybe 3 hours. We don't know. Thank you everyone for joining.
Thanks for
See you
having me.
later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.